As you already know, PRECISEU connects innovation ecosystems across Europe to efficiently advance towards truly personalized healthcare by transferring practices and solutions from region to region and scaling up deep tech healthcare innovations based on advanced therapy medicinal products and health data across Europe. So as you can see, the project brings together stakeholders. Among them is the it's okay. You can see we are 25 partners from 12 regions and 11 states. As you can see in red, among them is the Spanish platform for patient organizations. We're an umbrella organization in Spain, bringing together 47 federations and state-level organizations. We are nearly 2,000 patient associations, and that means we are more than 985,000 patients, family members, caretakers. And what all our member organizations have in common is that we advocate for the rights of people with chronic diseases and chronic conditions in Spain. And in this context, the Best Practice Recognition Initiative, whose first edition took place in September 2025 in Lithuania, allowed us to discover several cutting-edge projects in the field of data use for personalized medicine. The initiative shines a spotlight on pioneers who are translating cutting-edge science into real-world care, especially through the innovative and responsible use of health data. It celebrates exemplary practices that not only push the boundaries of what's possible, but also aim to make these breakthroughs accessible, equitable, and impactful for all. The Best Practice Recognition Initiative is structured around 4 categories: impact, innovation, excellence, and culture, reflecting the different ways in which personalized medicine can generate value, from scientific breakthroughs and data governance to meaningful patient engagement and societal impact. And for this reason, us, as patients and patient representatives, we have a particular interest in speaking with the champions of this first edition, understanding how they integrated patient involvement and patient experience, the challenges they faced regarding funding and sustainability, as well as regulatory and governance barriers. And today, we will be speaking with 2 representatives of the winning project, Miquel with the DIPCAN project, Miquel from the DIPCAN project, and Begonya from the ENGAGE-ATMP project. Miquel, Begonya, can I see you in the screen? Are you there? Let me know.
Yeah, here we are.
Great. So we will be starting with Miquel. Miquel is the winner in the impact category with the DIPCAN project, a data-driven initiative to identify metastatic tumors. Thank you very much, Miquel, for being here and for sharing your time and your experience with us. Could you
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's great. Could you briefly explain a little bit about your project in about 5 minutes?
Yeah, I can. Do you want me to use a presentation? Do you want me?
Whatever you feel more comfortable with. You can share your screen for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I can. I will try, and I think that it's easier and more explainable for everyone. So, and just please let me know of the timings if I'm talking too much. But okay, well, first of all, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be part of the PRECISEU. And well, we will talk later about the experience, but I think that it's a really great experience, and I really encourage to everyone to join PRECISEU awards and to join PRECISEU initiatives. So we are Genomcore. I'm Miquel Bru. I'm the co-founder of Genomcore, a company that we found yesterday we made 11 years, and we have been focused from the beginning in the idea to make precision medicine a reality. And if we talk about precision medicine, our view is that precision medicine is a data-driven medicine. So that's really important to put on the table, that we need data and structure it and really data that we can work in order to make this step forward. So that's why in Genomcore we develop what we call a biomedical information management system that we can use to different things. One of the things that we are going to talk today, I'm not going to spend more time in talking about my company, but I think that important is to talk about the project that won the impact category in the PRECISEU. So the idea of DIPCAN was the digitalization and the management of precision medicine in cancer. No? So we started this project in 2022, and the idea is to see how we can characterize with AI metastatic cancers. No? What we wanted to do is to develop these artificial intelligence models in order to know the prognosis of the cancer, no? And was a really open model with the idea to apply it to any kind of cancer. So it's a project that, as we said, the idea was to put, and we get more than 2,000 patients with metastatic tumors, and to see these patients in a multimodal way. No? So we wanted to put together not just information of the clinical story, not just genetic, anatomy, pathologic, imaging, whatever you think, more than 29 different data points for each patient in order to have this multimodal platform to deal with the different data to find which are the data that can help our AI models. So one of the big challenges that we found here, no, as you can imagine, there is a big challenge here. No? You want to put 2,000 patients, you want to put more than 29 different kinds of data to put it all together in a big consortium, 9 companies on the same time. So you have a big challenge in order to fulfill this kind of projects. No? I think that the first one that we found, and I will be really quick on that, is that we needed to be patient-centered. We cannot do and we cannot think about this kind of big projects to put it together without thinking about the patients. The patients may be always on the center. No? So we have to think how we can recruit these patients, how we can give them something with value, how we can impact to them, and all the environment and all the process that they have in the pathology. The second one is about being data focused. So it's really important. If we want to do AI, if we want to move to the next phase of the precision medicine, we need to have multimodal massive data spaces. We need to automate the data processing. We need ingestion of different data from different places. And we need to think that this is not going to be just one partner. It's going to be thousands of partners. No? In this project, we had data from 135 different hospitals. So that is also a big challenge. And the second one is that we need to be, in this case, research-centric. So we needed to have different kind of approaches in order to allow different companies to take intelligence from the data. No? It's not just about to be just really center. It's not just about to be the only one who owns the data and the only one who use this data. Is about to have the framework to be federated, to allow different companies, different institutions, different research centers to train and these models, to evaluate the models. So we need to be open. So just in a simple schema, the idea was really simple. Always we have to take account the privacy, the security, the regulation. So for us, it's really important that we need to have this data management plan in order to know the rules of what we are going to do with the data. Then what we develop is this platform, or what we put structure to structure all this data from the different stakeholders. But we needed to have it in 2 ways. One is what we call the front desk. It is a platform that we can collaborate with the patients. We can communicate with the patients in order to be there with them, and also we can collaborate with the doctors, no? With the physicians. So we need a way to talk and to communicate with both sides. And also we need to collaborate and to talk with the research centers. So we need another front there. To be able to share this information, to be able to create different sandbox in order to allow different companies to train these own models in these data spaces, always in a secure way, always in a way that we can share, but with no leaks and with not problems with security of the data, as we are talking about patients and we are talking about health data. Well, we did it. We can talk more about later about different things. I'm trying to be really quick, but this project, I think that it was a unique because we get 2,000 patients in 2 years, more than 1 million of clinical records, 29 different data sources. So that was a really multimodal data space. More than 50 terabytes of data, more than 4 million of different files, health files, and more than 25 automated tasks. So we are really developed different AI models, which now we are going to pilot, and we are going to see if we can really impact to the patients. As at the end, you always have to remember that we do all of this just for the patients, and this is what we have to always keep in mind. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for giving us that much information in that little time. From the patient perspective, I'd like to ask you, in practical terms, how were patients involved, for example, in co-design, in advisory roles, in data generation, governance? Was patient involvement planned from the beginning, or did it evolve as the project progressed?
Well, they were involved from the beginning. I think that is not. If you want to do this kind of projects, you know, patients out of the center. The good thing is that in cancer we have a really proactive patient, so that it really helps. No? Sometimes in other pathologies or in other areas, it's more difficult to find and to have because at the end you need the patients to be involved, to be engaged with the project. If not, it's not possible. So the first thing that we did, as we cannot go patient by patient, is to contact with the patients' institutions. No? So there is a lot here in Spain, but there is a lot in Europe. There is a lot everywhere of patients' federations, patients' institutions that you can contact with them. So what we did is go to them, contact with them, and then explain the project, the aim of the project, explain what we wanted to do, and to see how we can collaborate with them in order to engage with the final patients. No? So that was quite important for them. As you know, these patients' federations or these patients' associations, they always have some committees. So we developed with them this idea. One of the first things was to develop this app, so we can just go directly to the patients, and the app can be promoted by the associations, and not just going to the hospitals, and the hospitals to the patients, and to the doctors, and the doctors asking to different patients. So that was a way that we really find a real impact at the end, not just about the workflow. Of course, you have to think about the patients and with the associations to find which is the best workflow, but also with this kind of proactive, patients, that's easy, no? Because even if you have some pains on the way, they are really open to collaborate. But for me, the important thing was to how we can arrive to them, how we can explain the project, how we can explain how this will impact to you and to the future generations. No? That was the most important. And what we found is that the best way was to go to the associations, the patients' associations, talk to them, explain the project, agree the aims of the project with them, and then they will be part of the promoters of the project. No? So we get something that I think that is a record Guinness, a world record Guinness. I don't know. Someday I will try to check it. But we get more than 600 patients in just 1 month. So that for a clinical trial is a big thing.
It is. It's great, actually. What a great achievement.
But there is no rocket science there. It was just talking with the patients' associations, be in line with them, and they did all the job. Just they have the contacts of the patients, so they just promote the app. The app was really easy to connect, and the patients have the first thing a questionnaire, and with the questionnaire automatically, this is something that is really easy to do. We just we can profile the different patients and decide if you can join the clinical trial or not. So it's really easy because we put patients on the center.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And Moving on to the funding and regulatory challenges, which might be also very interesting for other people in the audience that might have these same issues. How was this project funded, and how appropriate was the funding model for the personalized medicine approach?
Yeah, well, we were really lucky because this well funded. This was a 40 millions project from the PERTES in Spain, the Next Generation Funds from the Ministry of Spain. At the end, they found for the 50% of the project. So we were really lucky with that. So we get at the end the association seven companies. We get, I think that the funded the grant was about 9 million for the consortium. So we were really happy with that. It was one of the lines that the government of Spain put with the Ministry of Transformation and Industry with the AI model, AI grants. So we were really lucky because we were the only private, 100% private association or private consortium that we get funds from these projects. So yeah, we were really lucky in that.
Well, I'm glad you were that lucky. And regarding regulatory challenges, what were the greatest barriers regarding regulation that you faced during the implementation of the project? Did you have any?
Yeah, of course. Even in research, of course, you must to. Well, the first thing is that you must to always be and deal with the ethical consortiums. That's the main thing. But regarding to privacy, we use the good thing that here we use our platform. That is a platform that is already working in Spain with the government. I'm sorry, but Bruce. Sorry for that. There is the
Don't
government.
worry.
We are working with the Spanish government. So the platform that we put here is a platform that has different three ICOs: the 27001, 2717, 2718, that are the ICOs of the privacy and security on the cloud. That is the main thing that I had to put on the table. This project was 100% cloud project, which is something that I always like to put on the table because we have to break this barrier. No? I think that cloud is something that is really useful for this kind of projects. And we also have the national scheme. We passed the national scheme of security, national scheme, Spanish national scheme security in the highest rank on the management of the biomedical data. So of course, regulations is really important. You have to have the typical regulations that, to assure security and privacy, but also for me the big thing is to have a data management plan. That's the key of this kind of projects. If you have a data management plan, you have a really regulated what you are going to do with the data, with all the exceptions, and what you are going to allow to do or not to do with the data, then it's really easy to pass any kind of regulation or any kind of barrier that you have on the table. No? So it's more to have the big challenge that I always find is when you don't know what you want to do. That is sometimes happens with the research projects. No? You know that you want to get data from different places, and let's see what we want to do, who is going to access, how is going to access to this data. That is a really important thing. The technology is really easy to find, so we have a lot of technology on the market in order to deal with the data. The most important thing is to put the barriers from the beginning of the project. So then you can just put the barriers in the places that they must to be. So then it's really easy to pass the regulations.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that much detailing. Another question that, and the last one, at least from my part, would be, considering everything we have discussed already, what would you need in order to further scale or further elevate your project? What are the next steps for you?
Well, the next steps for the consortium, it's it's to keep developing. One of the problems that we have on the no, there is a good things, but always there is a bad thing. I think that one of the mistakes that we get from the beginning, and we realize at the end of the project, is that we wanted to be really wide about the kind of cancers. And this, it was nice because it was really easy to get different more patients in order to evolve and to see which are the best things that we know, the best kind of data or the best cancers that we can find first results. The problem is that at the end, when you want to pass in the future is to pass the regulations. No? The next thing is okay. Now we have some AI models that have some promising results, but as we did 2,000 patients with different kind of cancers, we don't have a big N now to be sure that the model is working. No, so that is a good thing because we get a lot of data and really quiz it in order to share with this information. But the bad thing is that now, well, if we want to keep further passing the regulations on CE marks of the AI models and all these kind of things that now is a big issue in Europe, and it must be. We need now to focus on different kind of cancers. No? So the good and the bad thing of the project was that one. No? So we were really wide on the kind of cancer, on the kind of patients, but at the end, this is a problem in the final stage because now, we have some models, but now we have to focus on something.
Well, I wish you a very good luck with the project. It's clearly super interesting, super engaged with patients. And now I think it's a good time to open the floor to the audience. So if you have any questions for Miquel, which I have already seen in the chat, you have one. Now it's a good moment. But also, if you don't have questions, you can save them for later, for the final discussion. And I can see in the chat, the Alex Sigov said, thanks, Miquel. Is HIR your primary standard for data harmonization and interoperability, or do you use an alternative framework?
Yeah, well, thanks, Alex, for the question. This is a big question in IT. FHIR is one of the alternatives, but for me, it's not a primary standard. And why I'm saying that? This project, we connect with 135 hospitals. Yeah? We also connect with laboratories, different 6 or 7 different laboratories that would give us and data with NGS, Sanger, genomics, whatever, no? 29 different kind of data. So whatever you can imagine, we get that. So we need to interact with different players. And when we get that, and if we talk in the real world, and I'm sure, Alex, you will be with me, what we found is that, FHIR is something that is coming. FHIR is something that some people is talking about this interoperability, but at the end, nobody or almost nobody is ready for that. So you cannot be close to one standard. Our approach always is the same, and sometimes we have to build ATLs for each of the interoperations of each of the hospitals, laboratories that we are connecting, because we find that there is no framework that we can apply to everyone. So at the end, my experience said to me that you can have a framework, but when you are going to the real world, you are seeing that the framework and the standards not always are used. No? So then you must to be really flexible on that.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I think we have a general idea, but also I remind the public that they can ask questions in the final discussions. Right now, we can move on to Begonya. Miquel, thank you very much for your participation. Begonya, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
great.
here.
Great. Well, Begonya is one member of the team that won the culture category with the project ENGAGE-ATMP, engaging patients in the institutional ATMP model. So thank you very much for being here also and sharing your time and your experience with us. Could you also explain a little bit about your project in around 5 minutes?
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Paula. I'm going to share some slides. And this is a project that it's collaborative between 3 different departments in our institution. One, of course, it's the advanced therapies platform, because in our institution we produce these therapies. And of course, we do clinical trials and we administer these treatments. And also in this project that it's very focused on the patients, we work together, the patient engagement in research department, that we are incorporating the perspective of children and caregivers in the research development, with the patient experience department that it's devoted to involve patients and caregivers in healthcare. I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. I mentioned that ENGAGE-ATMP is a partnership between 3 different areas of Sant Joan de Déu Children's Hospital. We are a leading European specialized pediatric center. We are the largest pediatric hospital in Spain, pioneers in the study, development, and administration of advanced therapies. We are an academic and non-profit institution, and many of the projects and initiatives that we develop are in collaboration with other institutions and, of course, different key stakeholders. And every year we have around 10,000 patients in our facilities coming for healthcare services. If you move to the next slide, let's introduce a little bit this next slide, these areas that I already anticipated that define the model as a whole of involving patients in the development of these new therapies, but as well in the administration in the standard of care. Next slide. Specifically about my department, the patient engagement in research, the mission that it has, it's ensure that we can incorporate the perspective of children when it's possible, or caregivers in research and in innovation projects. And for us, it's very important to do it from an ethical approach, because they are children, and any activity that we do with them, we need to define which is the best methodology to get their feedback and insights in our project. And of course, respecting the children's rights, that one of the most relevant is that they need to contribute and be part of the decision-making process of anything that can concern their health. And in this sense, we work a lot in any informative or educational materials that will help our patients to understand what are these therapies, how they are administered, potential side effects, etc. In general, for us, research doesn't start when we have a patient that potentially can participate in a clinical trial. Research in our institution starts in basic research, because we have labs. We have a biobank. This is the largest biobank in pediatrics in our country. And we have academic studies. Of course, we have commercial studies, and in both areas we involve patients and families. And it's so relevant, anything that we do in the innovation setting, because these therapies are innovative, but also in some of these studies we use wearables or any other technology to conduct the research, in order to see if we can help to analyze new potential treatments. Next slide. This is a list of different activities or areas that require, do research to finally have this translational approach that our institution have. That means that we try to make it closer and faster, the process to administer these new therapies to the patients. For the reason, the hospital has facilities to do research and to administer these therapies, and patients from other regions of our country, or even at international level, they come to receive these innovative therapies to the hospital, or also when these treatments are approved. Next slide. And this is an example about different kind of activities that patient can do specifically in the clinical trials of new therapies. It's important that you know that we work very close with patients' organizations. In fact, we have a department in our institution, and in some cases, the unmet medical needs are not only identified by our experts, are identified by families that they come to us, and they help us even, with funding, because they do a lot of charity events to promote this research. And for us, they are part of the drug development process. They are a partner from this awareness phase to identify any need that potentially can be translated into a research project, the design of this project, and all the activities that are required to conduct this research, and of course to communicate the results in a friendly manner, thinking that our target population are children and young people. Next slide. We use different methodologies. Some activities, depending where the patients are only virtual or face-to-face, or at some point also we mix these activities, because what we try to do is build boards of patients with the specific condition in which we are going to do research, to work in parallel with all the phases of our research. And of course, depending of the moment of the drug development process, we define which is the best methodology. You can see here in the slide some examples: focus groups, the Delphi method, and the most innovative methodology that we are using now is high realistic simulation, because sometimes involving patients, it's not a matter to ask about their experience or opinion on some topics. Sometimes we need to test before to work with real patients in the context of a clinical trial, if it's acceptable, the design, the activities, the medical procedures that this project includes. Next slide. Perfect. I mentioned at the very beginning that we work collaboratively, because usually clinical research in these advanced therapies, it's not only a research that happens at Sant Joan de Déu in Barcelona. Usually it's in partnership with other hospitals, and what we have is a network with the name European Young Persons Advisory Group Network, recognized by the European Medicines Agency, that together we can replicate the same activity in different countries with young patients or parents in their native language, to get the insights of this probably cultural diversity, and together we include this perspective in the same protocol, in the same study. I think that this is relevant and important, because sometimes if you only involve a few number of patients, the output that you will get probably it's not something that you can translate into different contexts. Next slide. And finally, about the research piece of work that we are doing, is that we have the capability to cover all the pediatric or subspecialties in pediatrics. Also, we work in pregnant women projects, because we are a maternity children hospital. And in some studies also we have capability to involve adults. And this international dimension that I already mentioned, because we have not only this liaison with different European countries, as well with all the national networks doing pediatric clinical trials across Europe. Next slide. I'm going to explain now a little bit about the patient experience in the healthcare area at Sant Joan de Déu. We work in 3 different pillars. This area is led by my colleague Joan. The first pillar is to include the voice of the patients with different standard methods that we have at the hospital, surveys that we administer on a regular basis, complaints, because sometimes also we need to answer some complaints that receive from the families, and also we align any feedback or insights that come from the patients with the professionals and the different departments involved. We have permanent participation also boards with parents and young patients, and also we have some methodologies and projects ongoing to measure which is the patient experience in different medical departments and in specific activities. Next slide. Okay. About the patient voice, as you can imagine, for us it's important listen the opinion of our families, but also we ask questions. We have the MPS, that it's a standard method, and other ones that help us to standardize these regular questionnaires to monitor the assessment that our families they do from the healthcare that we provide to them. We monitor this data, and of course, we provide feedback to the patients that have contributed to these questionnaires, but as well, we use this data to work with our professionals to improve the quality of our services. Next slide. About the permanent participation, I already anticipated that we have regular councils or boards. The Families Council was set up in 2019, and we have 23 different families, and we met with them in monthly sessions. The Youth Council was set up in 2010, and we have 10 permanent members with as well monthly sessions. And finally, because it's a huge area of research in our institution and healthcare, we have the Pediatric Cancer Center Barcelona, the PCCB Families Council, that was set up when we opened this new facility in 2023, and we have involved 13 families with quarterly sessions. Next slide. Yeah, and about this last pillar that I already anticipated about how we measure the patient experience, of course, for us, it's so important to include the analysis of pain points that require, some improvements. The families are part of the solution. Families, of course, including the patients, because we co-design with them the solutions. And since 2014, they have been involved in 139 different co-creation projects. And I think that this is my last one. Yeah, this is my last one. Basically, what we are summarizing is that we are devoted to work with the patients. And for us, anything it's based in a partnership in which we take advantage of the expertise and the needs that they have to be sure that the service that we are providing, even if it's in research or in healthcare, it's aligned with the expectations of our patients and families and the diversity that they have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Begonya. Thank you so much. You very clearly have a super patient-centered design. I was actually going to ask you one question that I'm not going to ask anymore, because it was going to be that how did you ensure that patient participation was meaningful and not merely symbolic or consultative? But I think it's very obvious from what you shared. So the other question I have for you is, if you were starting this project again, what would you do differently regarding patient involvement, or would you do anything differently regarding patient involvement?
Yeah, I think that it has evolved, because initially we set up these boards with patients from different medical departments, and of course they are very active. We met with them. I'm speaking now about specifically research in a monthly, regular basis, but the projects specifically about advanced therapies require that we work specifically with children and families living with the specific condition. We have evolved the model, and we have now the capability, depending on the project, they involve, the right target population of these initiatives, and as well to incorporate the best methodology. Not it can be done, everything, with focus group or surveys or questionnaires. Depending what you want to explore with the patients, you need to adapt the method. I think that probably for us, the secret of our recipe is that every project is a new chance to learn, and we design a bespoke plan to involve the patients and the families. It's not, let's say, something like a copy-paste exercise that you can, replicate any times. No, you need to think in the specifics of the disease and the project. And advanced therapies in our institution have, as in general, plenty of challenges, not only per se about this kind of therapies, also because in some cases what we have are patients not from Spain or close to the hospital, and this is another complexity that we need to add when we work with international patients and families. And also about the long follow-up that these patients they have, because in some projects it means that after to administer sometimes a one-shot therapy, that we need to follow up these families probably for 15 years. And I think that here it's so important, this human-based model that we have as well from the point of view of healthcare, because at the end it's a very, close relationship between the professionals and the families, and it's based in, in the trust, in the communication, and also in personalize what these families they probably specifically need.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that. And coming back to the regulatory and funding challenges, was, because you actually mentioned that in the end, was patient participation adequately recognized and budgeted for by funders? I mean,
the point here is that when it's done, it's covered because you have a plan and you have, a sponsor that probably, an academic institution, ourselves, or a pharma company. But for me here, the challenge or the bottleneck is that it's not a common practice. The European regulation recommends involve the patients and requires the evidence about what you did in the protocol design, but it's not a requirement. It means that it's not done in a regular basis. Of course, in our projects, when we are sponsors of, for example, a CAR-T, therapy trial or whatever the treatment, it's quite easy because we are an internal department. We work with the clinical research unit, with the medical department, leading the study, and we can manage. But we cannot control the studies that we receive externally. And if it's not a requirement, basically, in few of them, patient involvement is done. And sometimes we take for granted that a trial that was designed for adults in general, or for these innovative therapies, if you try to do your best when you design the study, it would be acceptable. But we are far away about what the children they expect, require, how they want to be informed, and the only way to do it properly is asking them. For me, this is the situation that we have, that it's not a mandatory process like go to the ethics committee, and we are working a lot as well doing lobby at the European level to work that at some point we will have this as a mandatory process, because it's a lot of added value. It's work, of course, it's budget, but we need to see the other side. The benefits are higher than if we only have on mind the numbers about the cost and probably the time that this requires.
And also, did data protection or consent or governance requirement actually affected the patient participation?
Usually, no. The families, when they understand what you are asking for, that it's, improve a potential, clinical trial for the condition of their child, they are willing all the time to help. And in some activities, what we try to do as well is to have better tools to inform these families. Usually, it's not a concern.
Great. That's great to hear, actually, that patients are involved whenever they are explained correctly and they understand what they are getting into. I think that's great to hear for other projects that might be thinking about how to engage with that. And the same question I asked to Miquel, considering everything we've discussed, what would you need in order to further scale and elevate or strengthen the project?
I think that what is relevant and important is to have, this, let's say, more support from the regulatory perspective, because at the end, if the system requires to do it, everybody will work in the same direction. We are lucky because we have, a strong collaboration with patients organizations and, other institutions working probably in the same project. But I think that here what is relevant is that we need to put in value what means, involve patients and families in our projects. I think that this is, probably what will help to scale up or doing, with more intensity, because in some areas still it's very anecdotic, and we can control our activities as a hospital, as a research institution. But when these other sponsors or institutions leading these activities, we don't take the decisions.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much again for your time and explaining everything to us. And I think now it's a good time to open the floor to the audience. If you have any specific questions for Begonya for her project ENGAGE-ATMP, please let us know. And if not, thank you very much to both of you. We can also open the discussion more so that you can even talk to each other and talk to the audience if they're willing to participate. I think I also have other questions that I can give to both of you. For example, coming back to Miquel, were there a specific cost such as data, infrastructure, interdisciplinary coordination, or implementation in clinical practice that were particularly hard to finance? But this is a question for Miquel now, because we've been talking more to Begonya, but it's also a question for Begonya. So let us know if whenever any of you want to participate.
So please, can you repeat? Because
yeah, no,
don't worry. Cost, but
if there were a specific cost that were particularly hard to finance in your project.
Well, as my project was a grant in the for AI project, so it was something that we've been funded for all the project itself, no, including the infrastructure, including all what we needed. It's true that one of the things that it was more difficult for us in order to make understand the people that was evaluating the grants was about to explain why we need infrastructure, why we need computation, why we need all these kinds of things. I imagine, but this is just an idea, when we are starting this kind of project, for example, with training of AI models, no, and are really infrastructure consuming, is something that we need to explain a lot. So we need to evangelize people. We need to explain why is needed the computation, why is needed, why is better the cloud than on-premises in this kind of cases. So I think that it's maybe one of the big issues that we had. But as the project was like a world project funded, we didn't find the problem for the financial parts of it.
That's great. That's great to hear. I think we have another question specifically for Begonya, because this was at the end of her presentation. Begonya, how do you collaborate with sponsors or external protocols?
Yeah, we collaborate when there is the chance that still the protocol is not finalized. Depending, of course, of the companies, they contact us in this very early stage, and we can involve patients and help to define, let's say, the final version of the protocol before the clinical trial application. I think that it's important to do pedagogy in this sense, because not only probably for advanced therapies, but in general in pediatrics, it's mandatory to do the pediatric investigational plan when there is an adult development, and sometimes the protocol is the same. And children are not small adults, and we need to think, in the and the times of the visits, and if a medical procedure is invasive, quality of life questionnaires, etc. There are many things that require to be adapted, and the same protocol it's not to work properly with children. For this reason, I'm not encouraging and asking the sponsors to do it in a regular basis, because sometimes this protocol will have challenges and we suffer this as a site, but the most important thing is that patients and families, they are suffering this, and if a protocol is not acceptable, we have a problem.
Definitely. Well, I'm glad to see actually that the public is getting active in the chat. And we have another question for Miquel. They say, I would be interested to know how you at Genomcore address the issue of trust and acceptance at the various interfaces, for example, research, clinics, IT, and data protection. Were there any particular challenges or lessons learned that, in retrospect, you would pass on to other projects? Great question.
Yeah, well, trust and acceptance depends on what you mean with that. No, so for me, one of the parts, trust and acceptance, is about how you are gonna know about of the data, no, how you are gonna deal with the data, or the acceptance of that you can be the middleware of the data, or the one who is storing like a data space of all the data. If you are thinking about that, your question is going in this direction. For me, it's two main things. One, and it has been one of the main focus on my company from the beginning, It's about to pass all the certifications that are acceptance in the market. No, ICOs in Spain, the national scheme of security, etc., etc. That give trust to everyone. No, it's not 100% sure because there is some always security is always something that you cannot be always 100%, but it's something that helps with that. But for me, the most important, again, and I repeat it, and this is one thing that I really understood years ago, and is a must do for everyone in the project that we collaborate, is what I said to you about the data management plan. For me, this is the main thing before any kind of project that you want to work with different kind of data and with different partners. It's a must because it put the rules from the beginning. And then all the developments, all the integrations, whatever you want to do with the data, whatever you need to do with the infrastructure, with the front ends, with the different software that you are going to use, is going to be made from the beginning with compliance. No? And that is for me the most important thing. So first thing that you must do always is the data management plan and realize what you are going to do and put the rules, what you are going to do and how you are going to deal with all the data that you are allowing.
Thank you. I think we also have one question that can be applied to both of you. I think we haven't answered this. Is that have you already received funding through PRECISEU?
In our case, no.
Okay. Miquel?
No.
Okay.
No, we are working there this year with to try to be one of the calls, but last year we didn't apply.
Another question I have, you have covered it a little bit, both of you, but is which cost related to patient involvement were most difficult to cover? For example, the time, the capacity building, the coordination. Do you have any insight on that?
Usually, in our case, of course, we do, an estimate of the cost, and it's part of the cost of the project. At least from my area. I want to say as well that my colleague Joan Vinyets is here. If you remember, I explained that the project that has the recognition from PRECISEU was a partnership with my department working in research and Joan working in patient experience. Probably, I don't know, Joan, if you want to explain a little bit what it's, no?
Well, thank you so much, Begonya. And yeah, well, in our case, it's a little bit different in terms of this question because there is not any cost, there is not any monetary cost because it's part of our work to do this, the research with patients. And of course, the cost is more in terms of coordination with the professionals. One of the biggest issues in terms of cost is, how you manage agendas with professionals and patients and families. That's the impact, the biggest impact. And I would say that probably, I don't know, Begonya, but maybe also because we are a pediatric hospital, I think patients and families always are willing to collaborate. This is something amazing that probably if we talk about, hospitals for adults, probably it will be different. But here, for me, it's something really unbelievable.
Thank you. And Miquel, do you have any insight on your project and what were the bigger costs regarding patient involvement?
Bigger costs for me is always about user experience when you're talking about apps or mobile apps or web apps or whatever. There are too many things. I think when you're realizing it's like a big company going to the B2C. So going to the final customers and just allow me this comparison. And so there is a lot of funding that must to go there. If you want to engage with the patients, you want to engage with final users, user experience, the communication. It's really.
What advice would you give to projects that want to move from patient-centered rhetoric to real patient partnership?
I think that it's important to learn from good practices because there is no, let's say, a school or a university that
like
can
this
teach.
meetup, for example, is a great example. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's a good, chance because we have done this with colleagues from other hospitals. They came to visit us. They know our model. You can coach or support them, and at the end, they are doing something similar. I think that learn from someone that did the same, starting from scratch, because sometimes you need to start from scratch, when you have the first project or idea on your table, it's probably a good advice.
Yes, and Miquel, coming back to you, how is it going with the audio?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Okay, I actually can hear you now. So, do you have any advice also to give to other projects that want to move to a real patient participation partnership?
Well, as I said to you, I think that for me, I don't know if you hear me, but for me there are two main things. One is about your user experience. That is important to have it on your budget, to think about what you are going to develop, or you need to develop IT tools. You need to think about the user experience. It's quite important. And secondly, about the communications. So I think that it's important to invest in marketing and communication in order to explain why, how, and which is going to be the impact of what you're doing. And finally, I will just also highlight about to think about the patients associations. So I think that is a really good way to arrive faster and to be online from the beginning. Just involve them from the beginning of the project, involve them on the planification, involve them on the and try to do a co-creation. So then sure that you will have someone, a really good stakeholder that will help you from the beginning.
Can you please share also a concrete example of a decision that changed as a direct result of the patient input? If you cannot remember, it's fine. But yeah, if you can, that would be great.
In my case, it's difficult in the final result because at the end, as we are the final result of the project, we develop AI models. So for the final result, it's difficult for this final example. So what it was the impact was in the way that we decide to try to contact and to try to find the patients. That was talking on with the patient associations. What we found is that the best way was to develop this mobile app and just to try to expand the app through the associations, not trying to go to the hospitals, not trying to go to the patients directly, but doing this. So maybe that was one of the biggest impacts, because at the end it get a really big results in so short time.
In our case, talking about research, in some cases you have, let's say, big outputs because you can discuss about, the acceptability of the study design. And depending, the outputs of this discussion with patients, the sponsor can decide one design or other when there is the option. But I think that sometimes the added value it's in small little things when they are together. Because, for example, the average of recommendations coming from families when we implement, like in the real world with simulation clinical trials, the average of recommendations that we have, it's around 60. It's a lot to be changed before, to start, a research project with real patients. It means that these studies have not been designed thinking in the specific, needs of the patient population and the disease, because it's not the same, the requirements that one disease can, consider or others. I think that it can be, a big output, like, the concept of the study design, but small things that also can be adjusted in the study protocol that, at the end improve the experience and the acceptability and the adherence of the families that they will go through the project. And I don't know, Joan, if you want to comment as well from the healthcare point of view.
Yeah, Yeah, in terms of patient experience, probably it's more easy to see impact. For example, the building that you can see on the background of Begonya, the PCCB, it's an impact. So it was designed with patients and families, and they provided all the insights. And through these insights, we design all the environment, spaces, and building. But then, of course, always there is, with their involvement, always there is improvement. For example, in terms of what to seek better information or communication with them, with information materials, even to improve the models of care that we have at the hospital. So I will say there are plenty of examples. But on that, probably also to add that what's important it's always to provide feedback to them. So not to involve them only during the research and co-creation, but also once the project is done, and even during the process of building the solution, to provide continuum feedback and to make them part of this process. I think that's very important. And especially always, to manage expectations and to make very clear, so on that probably it helps a lot building trust, being humble and honest. I think that's very important during this process.
Thank you. And what are the questions and the concerns that patients mention when it comes to the usage of their health data? Can you give us some insight on that? Either Begonya or Miquel?
Begonya, you want to go or I go?
In general, I can speak because I'm not involved in projects about data. But in general, when you discuss about data with, in this case, parents, because are the ones that can take decisions, not the children, we work in our institution with pediatric rare diseases. It means small numbers, and sometimes, the families, what they are looking for, it's for new options. They don't have any concern to share anything, even, in the social media. They send, the genetic diagnose or any data with everybody, because they are looking for a chance for healthcare, of course, but also for treatments. This is what I can say. Of course, we need to educate probably better our population, because there are rights behind, and at the end, research it's based on data, healthcare it's based on data, and the future it's based, in a more integration of technology using and analyzing this data. I think that probably as an institution we need to educate better, but in general they don't have big concerns on this. They are worried more about the need of a diagnosis or a treatment, rather than what we are analyzing with the data that we have, and consent, etc. It's a very specific, let's say, niche of population in our case.
100% agree, Begonya. 100% agree with Begonya. I think that this is something that we as a professionals, we talk a lot of that, and we really and it must be something that is always on the table, but it's not a big issue for the patients. The patients are looking for answers, are looking for diagnosis, are looking for treatment, are looking for solutions. They really don't, it's not a big issue for them when you put these things on the table. So I think that we must as Begonya said, it's something that we must educate. But I think that it's more about to educate the professionals to be ethical, and the companies, private companies, research institutes, all the stakeholders that we are involved in health and we are involved in this kind of developments. We need to be ethical on what we do with the data. We need to be really aware about the risk of playing with the data, on the risk of doing things with data. But it's not that the patients are really concerned about that.
No. So and in some cases, they are leading projects about data because they know the value of data. There are plenty of patient organizations that they build patient registries.
Yeah.
They, create observatoriums to know better about the progression of the disease. I think that they are at least very aligned about the value of data. And I think that they are, more worried about that we cannot take advantage of all the data that we have, rather than to have, some concerns on these regards.
Yeah, that also, I think that happens more with patients with chronic conditions and patient-in-patient organizations because they interact so much with the healthcare system, but maybe the general public still doesn't have that much idea of how much data can save their lives. But I think it's interesting what you're mentioning, that how their main goal is just getting solutions. And I think it also talks really nicely about both of your projects and how you engage with the public, the information you gave to them, because it doesn't always happen this way. Actually, if patients don't feel so comfortable, maybe they don't share that much about them. So I think it talks really greatly about how you both approached it. I think we maybe have another question in the chat. Yeah, as a sponsor, how could we support patients if there is no ongoing research study? Are there any gaps where the sponsor could provide support outside of an active development program while remaining close to patients? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that probably it's good if you can support or make it, happen. As I said, no, in our institution, the model that we have is translational research. It means that we try to make it closer the gap between potential, new treatments, experimental treatments, and healthcare. But when there is no ongoing research study, we need to make it happen. And in pediatric rare diseases, only around 5% of the conditions they have a targeted treatment. It means that we need more research, and research starts with patient registries data, with biobanks. Also, it's so important to support networks of patients. In Spain, for example, the rare disease registry, it's not mandatory. It means that probably for some conditions, as a hospital, we have a bigger number than the patients that are in the national registry, because it's not a mandatory process. Parents, they don't know, and they don't register their child in this national registry. There are plenty of activities to be done, and we know that it's a long journey. It takes years if you are successful to have a treatment on the market, but we need to start. And I think that there are orphan diseases, but orphan research as well in these conditions, and there is nothing behind even these patient registries or biobanks, etc. I think that when there is an opportunity there, I think that it's important support, because at the end some of these projects, they move forward because are academic institutions with grants, families that they do charity events, donors. But I think that it's a matter of, let's say, a common problem that we need to support from different ways. And some of these treatments as well potentially can be, or have a different indication afterwards. Sometimes it's a matter to start and move forward and support basic research, because it's where we can test potential treatments and move to clinical research in partnership with, sponsors.
Mm-hmm. And Miquel, do you have any advice for sponsors? The same question. Everything is covered. Yeah, it was a very detailed question. But I'm glad that we have both of your different experiences. Of course, it's different, but you are having same perspective in many aspects, and I think that gives a lot of insights both to sponsors and both to regulatory bodies. I don't know if there are people in the public are also thanking you your perspective, which are being very detailed and very specific. We have another question: how to overcome the bottleneck of ATMP translation from benchtop research to bedside treatment? The cost of production is still on the top of list. Gene therapy vehicles like AAV and lentivirus are highly complicated in manufacturing and regulation due to their biology. We'd like to share our points of how innovation in AAV manufacture will reshape the future of ATMPs. Okay? If you, yeah.
It's a big question and a big list of questions. It's the question that I think it doesn't have one solution that can work for, all the scenarios. It's true that these therapies are very, very expensive. probably are more expensive when they are produced in a commercial, model that you need to centralize everything in one, manufacturing, company. The model is changing and evolving because I think that we know more now than a few years ago. I think that it's a lot of added value when we can produce these treatments in academic institutions that we are at the same time a hospital that we can administer these treatments. Probably the cost is lower, faster, because the patients are always waiting to receive these treatments. But it's true, are more expensive than other kind of treatments, and the market it's not big because we are talking, let's say, in some cases like with CAR T cells therapies, that it's a personalized treatment. I think that here what is important is to probably explore models about on the efficacy of these treatments that still in some cases are unknown, with not only the public system, because also we know that it's not sustainable in a very strong way, with probably private companies producing part of the solutions. It can be a potential model, but it's a big question, and I think that we need still to see what is going on there, and also about the efficacy of these treatments. CAR T therapies, the first studies in child, they were many years ago, and we know that, for example, in leukemia are working good, but the new ones that are arriving still are in the experimental phase. We don't know, and also we know that at this stage are expensive. There is a lot of uncertainty as well there. I'm not an expert on the field, I need to say, but of course, it's the big concern that we have. If if these treatments work, that it's always what we are looking for. The point about the cost, it's also a limitation because you probably cannot provide this care to all the patients. It's a big limitation.
Miquel, what do you think about this?
Well, I'm not an expert on this file, of course, but I would say that I think in the line that Begonya said, I think that we need to find, as we did in the last years with looking for biomarkers and looking for intensive. I think that now that the way with this kind of new treatments that are coming must to be the collaboration between public and private companies. No? So we need to co-create and co-collaborate in order to find solutions for this bottleneck that you put on the table. But of course, this is a big issue with that we will need some better experts than myself for sure to cover
it. Dennis, what do you want to share with us? Let us know.
I just raised my hand on this question because the answer is what my company is doing is to move away from adeno-associated virus, AAV or lentivirus, and using a chromosome vector technology to bring genes to the cells. So there are solutions, but everybody is just lentivirus, let's build CDMOs on this and so on, but you can't. There is structural problem with that vector alone.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you joined the conversation. And I think we're getting to the end in the conversation, and I would very much want to thank our champions for joining us today and the public for engaging in the discussion. We were actually a bit nervous because we didn't know if there was going to be enough people interested, but we can clearly see that you were, and I think it was super interesting, the insight and the specificities, mainly because the perspectives were very different, but also the public that come into the PRECISEU ecosystem is also very diverse. And I think sharing best practices this way can actually give a lot of interesting information and practical information regarding also the different regulatory and governance structures that we have in Europe. And so thank you very much again for generously sharing your experiences, and also the audience for their thoughtful questions and the active participation. And also, before we go, I would like you to inform that the deadline for submitting the project of the second edition has been postponed to the 12th of March 2026. So I hope we have many participants in this edition. We're really excited. We're learning a lot from our last experiences, and we want to make it better. And also, remember, most of you already know, but tomorrow we will be having the same conversation we had today, but not with the same champions, of course. We still have two other categories of the recognitions that are left, that are innovation and excellence. So remember, it's at the same time tomorrow, 11:30. I will be there again. And if any of you have any other specific questions, or maybe because of the projects anything else arises, remember, it's going to be different, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be practical regarding the context of the countries that will be participating tomorrow. So thank you very much again. We hope you actually thought this conversation was interesting, and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you once again for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.